Hypocrites deficient in the duty of prayer. Job 27, verse 10. Will he always call upon God? Concerning these words I would observe. 1. Who it is that is here spoken of, viz., the hypocrite. As you may see, if you take the two preceding verses with the verse of the text, for what is the hope of the hypocrite? Though he hath gained when God taketh away his soul, will God bear his cry when trouble cometh upon him? Will he delight himself in the Almighty? Will he always call upon God? Job's three friends, in their speeches to him, insisted much upon it, that he was an hypocrite. But Job in this chapter asserts his sincerity and integrity, and shows how different his own behavior had been from that of hypocrite. Particularly, he declares his steadfast and immovable resolution of persevering and holding out in the ways of religion and righteousness to the end, as you may see in the 6 first verses. In the text he shows how contrary to his steadfastness and perseverance the character of the hypocrite is, who is not wont thus to hold out in religion. 2. We may observe what duty of religion it is, with respect to which the hypocrite is deciphered in the text, and that is the duty of prayer, or calling upon God. 3. Here is something supposed of the hypocrite relating to his duty, viz., that he may continue in it for a while, he may call upon God for a season. 4. Something asserted, viz., that it is not the manner of hypocrites to continue always in this duty. Will he always call upon God? It is in the form of an interrogation, but the words have the force of a strong negation, or of an assertion that however the hypocrite may call upon God for a season, yet he will not always continue in it. Doctrine. However hypocrites may continue for a season in the duty of prayer, yet it is their manner after a while, in a great measure, to leave it off. In speaking upon this doctrine I shall show 1. How hypocrites often continue for a season to call upon God. 2. How it is their manner, after a while, in a great measure to leave off the practice of this duty. 3. Give some reasons why this is the manner of hypocrites. 1. I would show how hypocrites often continue for a season in the duty of prayer. First, they do so for a while after they have received common illuminations and affections. While they are under awakenings, they may, through fear of hell, call upon God and attend very constantly upon the duty of secret prayer. And after they have had some melting affections, having their hearts much moved with the goodness of God, or with some affecting encouragements, and false joy and comfort, while these impressions last, they continue to call upon God in the duty of secret prayer. Second, after they have obtained an hope, and have made profession of their good estate, they often continue for a while in the duty of secret prayer. For a while they are affected with their hope. They think that God hath delivered them out of a natural condition, and given them an interest in Christ, thus introducing them into a state of safety from that eternal misery which they lately feared. With this supposed kindness of God to them, they are much affected, and often find in themselves for a while a kind of love to God, excited by his supposed love to them. Now while this affection towards God continues, the duties of religion seem pleasant to them. It is even with some delight that they approach to God in their closets, and for the present, it may be, they think of no other than continuing to call upon God as long as they live. Yea, they may continue in the duty of secret prayer for a while after the liveliness of their affections is past, partly through the influence of their former intentions. They intended to continue seeking God always, and now suddenly to leave off would therefore be too shocking to their own minds, and partly through the force of their own preconceived notions, and what they have always believed, viz., that godly persons do continue in religion, and that their goodness is not like the morning cloud. Therefore, though they have no love to the duty of prayer, and begin to grow weary of it, yet as they love their own hope, they are somewhat backward to take a course which will prove it to be a false hope, and so deprive them of it. If they should at once carry themselves, so as they have always been taught is a sign of false hope, they would scare themselves. Their hope is dear to them, and it would scare them to see any plain evidence that it is not true. Hence, for a considerable time after the force of their illuminations and affections is over, and after they hate the duty of prayer, and would be glad to have done with it, if they could, without showing themselves to be hypocrites, they hold up a kind of attendance upon the duty of secret prayer. This may keep up the outside of religion in them for a good while, and occasion it to be somewhat slowly that they are brought to neglect it. They must not leave off suddenly, because that would be too great a shock to their false peace, but they must come gradually to it, as they find their consciences can bear it, and as they can find out devices and salvos to cover over the matter, and make their so doing consistent, in their own opinion, with the truth of their hope. But, 2, it is the manner of hypocrites, after a while, in a great measure, to leave off the practice of this duty. We are often taught that the seeming goodness and piety of hypocrites is not of a lasting and persevering nature. It is so with respect to their practice of the duty of prayer in particular, and especially of secret prayer. They can omit this duty, and their omission of it not be taken notice of by others, who know what profession they have made, so that a regard to their own reputation doth not oblige them still to practice it. If others saw how they neglect it, it would exceedingly shock their charity towards them. But their neglect doth not fall under their observation, at least not under the observation of many. Therefore they may omit this duty, and still have the credit of being converted persons. Men of this character can come to a neglect of secret prayer by degrees without very much shocking their peace. For though indeed for a converted person to live in a great measure without secret prayer is very wide of the notion they once had of a true convert, yet they find means by degrees to alter their notions, and to bring their principles to suit with their inclinations. And at length they come to that, in their notions of things, that a man may be a convert, and yet live very much in neglect of this duty. In time they can bring all things to suit well together, and hope of heaven, and an indulgence of sloth in gratifying carnal appetites, and living in a great measure a prayerless life. They cannot indeed suddenly make these things agree. It must be a work of time, and length of time will effect it. By degrees they find out ways to guard and defend their conscience against those powerful enemies, so that those enemies and a quiet, secure conscience can at length dwell pretty well together. Whereas it is asserted in the doctrine that it is the manner of hypocrites after a while, in a great measure, to leave off this duty, I would observe to you, first, that it is not intended, but that they may commonly continue to the end of life in yielding an external attendance on open prayer or prayer with others. They may commonly be present at public prayers in the congregation, and also at family prayer. This, in such places of light as this is, men commonly do before ever they are so much as awakened. Many vicious persons, who make no pretense to serious religion, commonly attend public prayers in the congregation, and also more private prayers in the families in which they live, unless it be when carnal designs interfere, or when their youthful pleasures and diversions, and their vain company call them. And then they make no conscience of attending family prayer. Otherwise they may continue to attend upon prayer as long as they live, and yet may truly be said not to call upon God. For such prayer, in the manner of it, is not their own, They are present only for the sake of their credit, or in compliance with others.